All right. So the frustrating, repetitive nature of the conversation, right? And how even those who do show interest often remain trapped in mental blinders that keep them from understanding or accepting the truth. Okay, so this is the same conversation that happens again and again and again, right? So the same script, different day. Every time someone dares to speak the truth about the abortifacient nature of birth control, the conversation plays out the same way. First comes denial. No, it stops ovulation. Right? Then disbelief, right? Sometimes, really, usually with a laughing emoji. And finally, retreat into the subjectivity. Well, it's all about what you believe anyway, right? It's a tire cycle and not a debate, right? It's not even a debate. We're just presenting facts, and they are suggesting that this type of thing is your opinion and all this. So it's not. I mean, this is not an opinion. These are facts, and the low bar. Just getting people to care, right? Most people don't even engage at all, right? The vast majority of people will never engage into this conversation. So you bring up something as serious as the early death of a child via pharmaceuticals, right? This is literally the most serious thing, and just the sheer number of it, right? And they check out, right? They completely they cannot even respond to the message. Their attention span vanishes, right? That's how numb and distracted society has become. They can't even take an interest in whether children live or die. And maybe it's because they cannot see the children that are, missing, or I don't know what it is, but it's like some sort of occult, type of brainwashing, and if you know about this, you know that why this is happening. But this is extremely uncanny. If there's ever a a definition for the word uncanny, this certainly is. Let's look at. All right, so certainly an uncanny situation here. So what does it mean? All right, seeming to have a supernatural character, seeming to have a supernatural character or origin, eerie and mysterious, being beyond what is normal or expected, suggests superhuman or supernatural powers. I don't think it's superhuman or supernatural. I think it's very, very human, to not accept that evil of a suggestion. It's too evil to even believe it, or even process it in your head, but it certainly is uncanny. It seems like there's a supernatural connection here. So what is the supernatural connection? Is that something is happening so that these people just do not accept the reality of the situation. But I'll tell you, there's one person that understands the reality of the situation, and that is Dr. Michelle Dow. And she knows, which is so perverse, right? She knows that all these people don't. Right? I think it's very, very clear to see, for the people that understand that, it's very clear to see that the vast majority of people would not understand this issue, and it's uncanny, right? This is an uncanny thing, right? You know what I mean? All right. So just getting people to care, right? So let's do number three. Interest, right? They're a little bit interested, but that means they will still reject it. They are not open to it. Um, Even the one who ask questions, like anonymous participant 654, like we had a debate, and I analyzed the situation with the AI agent, and they can't absorb the answers, right? These are factual answers, right? These are factual answers based on the FDA's own publication. Their programming kicks in, the pill stops ovulation, case closed, right? And that's their programming. That's like the machine, some sort of machine thing. I don't know how we can even put that. I mean, this is like a canon, some sort of. It's literally cannot be changed in there. It will never change, no matter how much evidence you put in front of them. They will always believe that, right? It's a really weird kind of thing. It's like they're reciting lines from a script they've heard their whole lives, unable to compute any information that challenges it. You're not talking to a person. You're talking to their indoctrination, and this is the evidence of the indoctrination right here. This story is so much beyond Dr. Michel Dow. It's about entire society, and of course, the politicians brainwashing the people um the state broadcaster, and the pharmaceutical industry that are is having this type of marketing campaign to brainwash people to accept the fact that to accept lies and to literally believe lies, right? This isn't marketing. Hey, what kind of marketing these guys are good marketers. I took marketing in my business university. We never even talked about this kind of thing, but it sells. It's making money and all this stuff. Certainly lots of money, dollar signs attached to this marketing, right? This is what they believe, and they will never. Let's analyze one more time. What do they believe? Right? This is what they believe right here. The bill stops ovulation. Case closed. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. That's what I believe, and I don't care how much information you're going to put in my face. You're never going to be able, like the horse. You can bring the horse to the water. The water's right there. It's a flowing river, full of information. And, I got to admit, man, this took me some time to break. This took me personally, you might not believe it with everything that I've said, but it took me some time to break, you know, and it just maybe a year ago, I didn't really believe it, but it wasn't that, but it wasn't that strong. But now I certainly have completely broken this, right? So you got to look into yourself. What do you believe, and is this even true? So I believe the pill stops ovulation. Case closed. Yeah, this is what they believe, 100%, right? So this is certainly we're gonna dispel that argument. It's not even true. So why are we believing things that are not true? All right. See, am I going number 4? Biology isn't belief. They reduce it to what each individual believes about when life begins. What? That's not right. There's something fishy about that. But that's not how embryology works. We don't believe when life begins. We observe it, right? We have become at the moment of conception. Right? Fertilization creates a new genetically distinct human organism, like we talked about this zygotic genome activation. The discussion should start there, not end there. Intellectual paralysis, right? It's literally like they're paralyzed, right? They cannot move. They cannot move their ideas. They cannot move their worldview, right? It's these conversations often hit a train wreck. It's a train wreck. It's not even a wall. Calling the conversation hitting a wall is an insult to conversations hitting the wall. That's how bad it is, right? Let's continue. Sorry about that, man. I tend to get carried away, but you know what I mean? Like it's a little bit too much, man. Um, so these conversation often hits a wall. Okay, not because your explanation lacks clarity or evidence. I don't actually believe my explanation lacks clarity or evidence. I think it's quite clear, and it does present the evidence is presented in a factual basis beyond any kind of doubt at all, right? But because people cannot emotionally or psychologically accept the implications. Okay, so if birth control can cause early abortion, then millions have unknowingly participated in something tragic. That's just too much for most to handle, and so they shut down, right? So they can process that through their head, but their subconscious doesn't accept it. It's just a kind of horror movie, like a horror movie, like it's a horror movie. Like, for example, you watch some sort of Texas Massacre, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's I don't watch that kind of movie, but I remember I did. I watched that movie in the theaters. I walked out. I walked out of this crazy movie. I don't know why I was there in the first place, but I certainly remember, for me, I see this and my brain, accepts it. But some people, they see this horrible thing, like millions and millions of children actually dying of an early abortion because of the doctors lying to them, and they cannot process it, and it's like a movie to them, and they just their subconscious doesn't accept the reality of the situation, and they shut down, right? They say, no, I'd rather you just watch Netflix or whatever else, right? They it's to the point where they watch so much Netflix and Disney Plus that they cannot understand the reality from fiction, right? A fictional story. I don't watch any kind of movies or anything like that. When I watch something, I watch sometimes I watched movies before, but I certainly don't know the difference between a fictional account of a situation and the reality of the world, right? You know what I mean? All right, so let's go to number And number six here, it's easier to dismiss than to change. If they admitted you're right, it would demand a moral and lifestyle reckoning. So instead, they wrap themselves in respectful curiosity while mentally distancing themselves from the truth. Comfort wins over conscience almost every time. They're comfortable in their little bubble. That bubble is very, very comfortable, and it certainly brings them solace, right? It certainly does. Right? Programmed defenses. You're not facing raw, honest doubt. Right? It's not something that people are actually going to, say, no, that's not true. Right? It's not true because blah, 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 blah. Right? I'm not. That's not what I'm facing. You're not facing raw, honest doubt. You're up against pre-programmed resistance. Decades of education, media, and medical consensus have built emotional armor around the issue. You're not trying to convince a person. You're trying to break through institutionalized denial. All right, so that's why I think these videos are going to be important. Like we got to, I think it's been a few months since I started this YouTube channel, and I don't even have, I don't even think I have 50 views on the whole channel. Like I made like 150 videos or something like that, right? But it doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. So what matters is the next generation. So I'm recording in 2025. It's my wife's birthday. She's a great, wonderful, she gave me 3 children. It was really wonderful. I got a whole bunch of kids, prior to being married to my wife. I had a children outside of wedlock. That was a terrible situation. We should never have children outside of wedlock. We should never sleep around, right? What kind of nonsense is Dr. Dow promoting? She promotes the sleeping around movement, right? That is just not right. That kind of thing creates broken families, right? It creates, the death of children and broken families, and it's just not right? You want to sacrifice, the familial structure, and where's the end going to be, right? The end certainly. So this should be a warning. Certainly it's in English, so this language could be accepted into the future. I think this language might be. So let's say, for example, 100 years from now, you're going to be listening to my voice. Let's say, for example, this video survives 100 years. It's 2025 today. Let's say, for example, in 2125, you're listening to my voice, right? And who's this guy? Is this John Michael guy? Well, I lived in Clare, and if you're 100 years from now in Clare, I'm interested to see that if there are any Acadian left, Acadian people left. It's very, very clear to see that there probably will not be, right? We cannot even get a stop sign in French, let alone, promote our culture and our heritage, and the traditional families being under attack. We're bombarded with this kind of, family planning, if you can call it that much. It's so perverse to call it a family planning or a family doctor when the only thing they're doing is destroying families. And I know, I know what it is. I've had, children, that with my ex that is not my wife today. That's my wife's birthday. Like I said, this is the way life should be, right? I got my wonderful daughter here, and my other wonderful daughter, my wonderful son, and they're happy. It's mommy and daddy and the kids, and it's just a happy family, right? There's no need to have any attack on this natural, this natural of a thing, right? It's the natural family, the nuclear family, the cornerstone of our society, right? So, but this here is just uncanny. It's just uncanny how everybody is always saying the same thing with no, with basically it's the same thing. It just stops ovulation. There's nothing else. You cannot convince me. And if you try to convince me and you present facts beyond any doubt at all, I will not accept the facts, and I will just leave the conversation and block you or whatever, right? That's how it is, and that's how she gets away with it. That's how these quote unquote doctors get away with it, right? They're getting away with murder, literally getting away with murder. How did they get away with murder? Is this programming? Right? It's incredible, right? And let's recap here. Yeah, over here. The pill stops ovulation, case closed. Well, it's most certainly doesn't, right? So that's the problem. Thank you very much for tuning in. I'll see you in the next video.